Hello, Frog fans. Welcome back to Post Game Beers Podcast. We are the Lupton Drinking Club postseason beers. We're back with you after a few weeks off to kind of get our summer started. We end our third full season of talking about the Frogs. I'm your host, Kyle Malloy at YellMK on Twitter, joined by my co-host, Jacob Sailors. We've also got our producer, Crazy Ray Cartwright, in the house, and the uninformed frog, Garrett Evans. We're back and ready to chat and kind of get with you guys. But hey, gentlemen, it's been a pleasure. It's a pleasure to see your faces, but really what I'm pumped about right now is the fact that we've got kind of an off season of chatting with some ex-TCU frog ball legends. And there's really no better to kind of start this series off with a bang. And if not, let's say one of, if not the most successful pitcher at TCU, we've got Preston Morrison. Preston, we appreciate your time being with us tonight.
Yeah, thanks, Kyle. Appreciate you guys having me on, and I've been blessed to be able to, spend some time at TCU, and then it's always fun to listen to you guys chop it up a little bit, and I've been able to follow along some. So happy to be on. Thank you again for having me.
Well, you don't have to lie. If you've never listened, that's okay. We won't be offended.
I did listen to a good bit of the one with Perk towards the end of the year, and so that was kind of the reality check time.
What we try to do is get a clip at the end of you saying, "I'm Preston Morrison, and I would never listen to Post Game Beers podcast."
Hey, Preston, where does the day find you? What's going on in your life? Where do you live? What are you doing? Give us kind of an update on your current life before we get into the past.
Yeah, today, very lucky to have a great wife, Kristen, who Kyle knows somewhat well, and we've got Miles, a two-year-old son, and another one on the way here in the fall. We live in Fort Worth and just working. And today was a great day. Got to tackle the yard work. Spent a few hours out in the sun.
There we go.
Went on a run and did some groceries. So big things. Kept an eye on the game today, but it was a win for me today.
Did you have any time for Bed Bath and Beyond?
Yeah,
I don't know if
there's schedule.
Hashtag dad life, baby. Let's go. I'm all about it.
That's not our number one player in the house. I think Amazon's going to be like the 90% of our baby money, but we'll definitely have to keep it in mind.
So Preston, the uninformed frog there, that's Garrett. Do you have any? He's a new father. Do you have any advice for him?
Just accept all the help you are offered. Always say yes to your wife and the mother of your child, and just try not to cry too often. Just like once a week is fine, but otherwise you're not a man.
Yeah. So we're rock and rolling, man. We're 15 months into this thing, and it's been a journey.
Did you write any of that down, Garrett? Did you write that down?
Yeah, I'm taking notes. I got it right here.
All right.
Well, congratulations. That's awesome.
Let's stick there for a second. So my daughter, Kate, was in Preston's wife's classroom this last year. I don't know what she's doing, but she's doing an incredible job. She loved Mrs. Morrison, just couldn't, stop talking about her. But I did ask Kate, I said, hey, we're going to interview, Mrs. Morrison's husband on the podcast. So she was very excited about that. I said, do you have any questions for him? First question was, you already mentioned Miles, which was your son. And her first question was, how's Miles doing?
He's doing great. We got him a train table yesterday. And so he's got the train table and the magnetic trains that connect together, and you make the tracks and everything. So we've been going to town on that the past, 24 hours. So he's doing great.
Awesome. Second question. This is a little tougher one, but how many home runs did you hit in your career?
Are we counting high school?
You know what? She didn't specify TCU. I didn't want to break her heart. So go for it.
Okay. So we'll count pro, college, and high school. 0.
That's awesome.
That tracks with your Muscle Beach story you were telling us all there.
Yeah. I almost got one in high school, but that's about it. That's my claim to fame hitting wise.
Last one, you can kind of tell where her mind was at, but she said, all right, he's having another baby. Have you decided on a name for the baby yet?
No. We decided Miles like maybe 24, 48 hours before he was born. Like Miles, we're not finding out the gender beforehand, so we've got to keep all options in the hopper.
Nice.
So,
well, if you need a place to do a gender reveal party, Post Game Beers will offer you that forum.
Yeah, how would you reveal it? Pink or blue? Like the tank top color?
Probably some bubbles that float across the screen. You know,
we have Ray come out in a tank top of the gender color.
That'd be perfect.
Dude, live from the hospital. You can just pod right from the hospital.
We'll be down in the lobby, and we'll break the news right there.
So Kyle, I thought you were about to do like a honeydew question, like fact check, like, okay, so she talked to Kristen, and okay, what's Kristen's favorite soda? What's her favorite color?
No. Yeah, that's funny.
I was freaking out for a second.
It wasn't a setup. It was actually legitimate. She was curious. So
that's awesome.
Yeah. All right, let's go backwards. Let's take a step back.
Let's get to business.
Yeah. You were recruited out of let's see, Cuthbertson. Is that how you say it? I don't even know how you say your high school. That's a tough one to say. In Waxahachie.
Cuthbertson in Waxhaw, North Carolina. It's very, very small. When I went there, I think we were 1A. I graduated with like 100 kids. So it's a very small town. But yeah, I mean, are you asking for the recruiting
and
story?
You were able to make your high school baseball team?
we were actually legit. I think we were nationally ranked at one point.
Wow, that's amazing, actually.
I was not a starter pitching wise. We had this guy named Peter going to UNC commit, and we had a guy named Cam UVA commit. So I was the third choice for starter. So I was the power hitting third baseman.
That's hilarious.
Wow.
What's in the water there in that little small part of North Carolina? To have 3 D1 athletes on a high school team is pretty unusual, especially for a 1A team.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't even mention our both of our middle infielders went SoCon, Western Carolina and App.
Wow.
And our catcher went NC State. So we were pretty good, but
who was your coach, and has he been promoted since then?
I don't think he has been. He was actually a college coach, NAIA. Came back down to high school to help. I don't know what his reason was really, but he was a big reason why I started throwing the slider that I did. He taught me how to throw it. But
thank God he did.
Yeah. I'm glad he did too, and certainly that area of Charlotte, within an hour of Charlotte, there's so many good baseball players. So many guys that end up going D1 and ACC, SEC schools and end up in the big leagues as well.
Yeah, and just look at how the Carolinas are doing at the college level with Wake, UNC, NC State, Duke, you name it. Elon,
Campbell.
There you go.
Humps.
So, I know that you weren't recruited heavily. I think that's pretty well known, but I guess to the detriment of programs who just wouldn't look at you because you were throwing in the 70s and 80s. What were those conversations like? And then obviously, you had Randy Mazey at TCU who, was that your only interest? Was there anybody else that you were considering, or was it pretty much the Frogs when they decided to give you an offer?
Yeah, I mean, I did throw in front of all the big name schools. The travel ball team I played on was, putting guys at UNC and NC State and all the big schools around the Carolinas. It was just there wasn't really a question of, or conversations rather. There was another school. I mean, I was talking to Wake Forest for a long time, but if you remember back in those days, they weren't necessarily the Wake Forest that you're thinking of today, right?
Right. Yeah.
And so I talked to them for a long time, at least a year or so. And then it was very fortuitous and just by chance, I happened to pitch against 2 different Texas teams in this huge tournament in Atlanta. And that's how Coach Mazey, he was able to see me twice in like 6 days and was effectively just, asked me to keep in touch. I just remember taking my dad's BlackBerry back in those days, logging into my Yahoo account and peppering Coach Mazey, like, all right, I pitched against the Diamond Devils today. Here are my stats. You can talk to Coach Bo, and he'll tell you, I struck out however many guys or whatever. But I remember doing that for most of the summer before my senior year, and then it's senior year they were able to let me come on the team in the fall.
Did
What a wild
Forrest at the time have that pitching lab they always talk about?
No, I went there for junior day, and it was kind of interesting because like we just talked about how talent rich North Carolina and the Carolinas are. I knew the only other 3 guys from North Carolina. One was the guy that ended up going to UNC, and then I played travel ball with the other guy. Every other guy was from Virginia, and more of them were from the Northeast. And so it was just a different recruiting game back then.
Yeah.
And so I don't know when the change was made, but they brought in new assistants at least a few years ago, and that's kind of propagated this acceleration in the program.
So I noticed today, I haven't talked to any coaches about this or anything, but it seems like social media is a big tool for both players and coaches when it comes to recruiting. Back in your day, I know Twitter was only a few years old. Was it kind of a weapon back then for you, or like a tool then, or how is recruiting different from what you see today than it was back then in your eyes?
I'm not going to have a great insight in today, but you definitely have guys where they're posting and other people are posting and other publications are posting how great of a player this is, and all of the places that have offered him. Meanwhile, I think back in my day, I definitely did not have a Twitter back then. I don't think I had any social media before coming to college in 2011. And in fact, I'd never heard of TCU before watching them in June, a month before I saw Coach Mazey. So my little focus was in the Carolinas and the Southeast. And so I think that like recruiting now is just so wild. It's the Wild West. And then you tie in like NIL and the transfer portal. It's really hard to, find a freshman that's going to come in and play right away. Meanwhile, I think that was kind of the biggest thing from my experience, just talking to other guys going through the recruiting process, is they wanted to go places where they could play. You got 2 equal places of like, an NC State and, a Virginia. You're weighing those 2 options. Like, okay, where am I going to play? Where am I going to get more field time? And I don't know if that's the same today or not, but just a question I would have.
Was Mazey there for just 1 year, your freshman year?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So then Kirk comes in after that, and Mazey recruited you. Like, did you ever think of, at that point, transfers were not the thing they are now, but were you still comfortable at TCU? You're like, hey, I think I got a future here still.
Yeah, I didn't have any, feelings of looking elsewhere or anything like that. I remember specifically talking to Los. He called me during the summer and kind of laid out what he saw from me and what he thought he would, try to bring me through in terms of the next few years, and how he approached the game and pitching and off the field stuff. And so that was, just more reason for me to stay. I just enjoyed that conversation and have enjoyed it since.
So you were a fan of him taking over the head role after Jim left.
Yeah. I think it was great. He could have left many times over to go somewhere else, but I'm very glad that he stayed. And it's I think the program's in great hands.
Can you talk a little more about the impact he had on you? Like you mentioned mindset. Like what are some specifics? Like what are some takeaways that you can still remember, that really impacted your performance at TCU?
I think a lot of people get into trouble when they have a good year, good outing, or a good stretch of games is they start comparing themselves to that point in time, right? And so he was a really good mentor in terms of leading me towards, don't really try to like replicate what you did last year or last outing. Treat every game like it's the same, or like it's its own experience, like it's its own game. Taking everything one day at a time, one game at a time. And so just having that mentality was just so refreshing and was I mean, I feel like I've lived at probably 95% most of the time.
Yeah.
Nobody's perfect, but I feel like that was one thing that really helped me just stay the course. And I feel like I got better year after year. Definitely something that I took away.
Well, dude, you said nobody's perfect, but I feel like you're about as close to it as you can get. Many would call you the greatest college pitcher in history. Where do you rank yourself? Have you thought about that at all? Come on, it's okay to brag on yourself a little bit.
No. I appreciate that, but it's funny. I was AAA teammates for a hot second with Michael Roth, and they used to make fun of us because we played catch one time, I remember, and they're like, "This is the greatest assembly of college baseball arms anyone's ever seen," and they're not breaking 90. It's so funny.
So let's say there, like, what's a stat that you actually cared about, as a pitcher, because you're not hitting 95, 100 miles an hour, right? Which is obviously very fun. It's very exciting for fans when people are throwing that fast. Your ERA was very low. I don't know if that was kind of the main one you focused on, or maybe strikeouts per game, or, what's something that you actually cared about when you were pitching?
And you can't say team wins. It's got to be a personal stat.
Well, it doesn't matter in the minor leagues anyway, right?
Well, you are testing my memory. We used to have these Excel spreadsheets that we would run through. So the starter for the next game would chart the game, and then the starter down the line would sit there and do what's called a frog sheet. So there's all these specific situational and inning structured goals. So if you throw less than 12 pitches in an inning, you get credit for that. But if you throw more than 20, then that's a negative.
Okay.
And so my goal was to I don't remember, being 10 years ago now, but like my goal was to get 50 frogs a game or something like that. So not only like throwing well, but you would have to throw 8 innings, 7, 8 innings to have the capacity to do that stuff. And shout out to Trey Teakle. I think one time he threw 1 inning and got like 30 frogs, which normally it takes like people 3 innings to do something like that.
I know this is your show, but damn, Trey Teakle could throw the ball. That's another guy I really like pitching.
The hinge, absolute menace.
I think we were spoiled during that time you were there, because I started to expect that pitchers would be like, hey, 10 to 15 pitches, that's great for an inning. I'll take that every time. And then if guys get out there going 20, 25, I'm like, what's our problem? We suck, And
I think the game's a little bit different today. Like you're going to have to deal with some kind of around the zone misses. Meanwhile, to be honest, I remember a wider strike zone. I remember
interesting
kind of my freshman year being able to abuse that. Randy, Coach Mazey had us throw quite a bit of 0-2, like try to throw it a foot off and to set up the breaking ball. And I would throw a fastball and I'd kind of run back a little bit. And so it'd be like 6 inches off and I'd get that call. And so I was, and like, just also going back to the pitchers, I think they're way more nasty now than 10 years ago, just on a more frequent basis. And so you're going to have guys that are throwing just more aggressively and more violently. And so that's
what would you attribute that to, in your opinion?
Just like the reward system that there is in baseball, right? Okay. You go out there and you throw 100 and you throw a Snapdragon breaking ball, you're probably going to get drafted, right?
But were there guys back in your day throwing 100 getting overlooked?
No, but there was a little bit more emphasis on pitchability and guys, throwing low 90s and having 3-4 pitches and being able to carry innings and throw a lot of starts over the course of a season.
Do you think
talk about the game being different? Wasn't that the era of college baseball, the kind of dead ball?
Oh yeah, era? It was fun pitching. I knew that on certain nights, like night games, you could throw just a fastball, and unless they were hitting it to straightaway left or towards the pole, you knew that it wasn't going to get out. And so you could kind of pitch around that. You get a 2-0 count, you fell behind somebody, just throw them a couple fastballs on the outer half. And even if they know it's coming, maybe they get a hit, but you're not going to have that home run risk that you probably do now today.
Well, it might have been fun pitching, but then you go in the dugout and you're cussing out your hitters for not giving you any run support.
And I think it's like, if you remember, like 2013 to 2014, the teams weren't that different. Like we had some, like the pitching was very similar. We were very good on the pitching side, and off the top of my head, probably 7 returners that year from 13 to 14. And basically the hitting, all the bad bounces started to go our way, and we also get some confidence from that too. But like you said, it was kind of frustrating at some points to look up and be like, all right, we've given up 3 runs in this stretch and we've only scored 4. So it happens.
Yeah.
You mentioned pitchability, when you like that may have been more of a focus when you were there, but if you had the same skill set right now as a college pitcher, do you think you'd be as successful as you were? And I know we talked about the balls being juiced and versus not at that time, but I feel like that skill translates better than just speed. Or maybe you disagree.
No, I think you're onto something. I don't know. I mean, I would like to think the competitor in me would probably perform similarly, but I also have just watched some pretty good at-bats the past couple of nights in Omaha. That's kind of one thing that you notice going to college or going from college to pro ball is the lower levels of pro ball. Those guys have some good skill, but they don't have the know-how of how to conduct an at-bat. But the guys, Tennessee, A&M, all of the teams in Omaha right now, the past couple of weeks have great hitting, and they all take pretty good at-bats.
So, Preston, you talked about, the abundance of talent that surrounded you in pitching, at your time at TCU. And on that, we have a question coming in from LDC correspondent Matthew Perk. You may have heard of him. He wants to know, what is your secret to becoming and maintaining the number 1 starting pitcher on a team with such immense talent and competition?
My secret was not knowing that or not thinking that, right? Like I sincerely have never, ever been the most talented person on a pitching staff. And so just knowing that and knowing that I have to keep working to keep up with the Brandon Finnegans, the Tyler Alexanders and Alex Youngs of the world, like I had to work hard and not work hard going back to the Muscle Beach story. I'm not going to go out there and like put up a bunch of weight, but I am going to spend a bunch of time thinking about how am I going to get this hitter out 3 times? How are we going to attack the first couple of times when we get into trouble in an outing? So I definitely took that to heart to like compete with not only the other team, but guys that I was able to pitch alongside.
All right, and while we're fielding outside questions, we have a live chat here. And it's your first time here on StreamYard, and again, thank you for joining us. But we have some write-in questions from the chat there. Jackson Day would like to know. Oh, I pressed the wrong button. Here we go. Is Preston in the burner community? Are you familiar with what the burner community is, first of all?
Yeah. No, I know what that is.
All right, and which burner are you?
Lupton beers. That's
okay.
Oh, dang it!
Well,
No.
you weren't
Ray, edit that out. Edit that out.
We've
please.
been outed.
All right, and then let's see. Jackson Day
Where's the
also.
dumb button?
Jackson Day also asked, "What is it like hanging 10 strikeouts against Tech in Omaha, and why is it glorious?"
That was annoying. Tech was the only team that I was like, my confidence always going into those games was not as high as the other ones. For some reason, they always saw me well. I hated pitching in Lubbock, but going into Omaha, I tried to clear that. I think I just actually had a decent day in terms of like I felt really good. My pitches were moving. I remember specifically there were a couple generous calls as well. There's a reason why they don't put the little MLB box on the College World Series broadcast, but it was great. Honestly, we were so close to just putting the nail in the coffin on that one and taking the driver's seat on that bracket, but it was a lot of fun.
Let's see if I remember. I'm going to do this off memory, but that was the Tech game where it was a battle late, and I think Tech made a couple errors, maybe in the 8th inning on a Kyle Bachok or Cody Jones. I think it was a Cody Jones ground ball to second base. Second baseman tried to make a wild play and threw it away. We took the lead, and then we lost the second game to Virginia, and that was the game where Crone slapped the dude on the head at the tag out at home. Is my memory right, or am I off?
We went heartbreak lose against Tech in 14.
Okay.
Then we beat Ole Miss.
Okay, I'm off. Okay, that answers my question. I'm off.
Is that right, or am I? I might be wrong.
I feel like we've never lost to Tech in Omaha, and if we have, please correct me. But
I definitely remember losing because people let me know that I used to read Twitter a lot more than I do now. But people let me know that I did not get a postseason win until my senior year in Omaha. So
really, that was against LSU. Let me get one right.
Yes,
Vanderbilt.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, we didn't beat Vanderbilt. We beat LSU.
I guess I'm thinking of it earlier on. But was there a College World Series that was more special? Obviously, that first one's pretty awesome. But do you have better memories from one or the other?
No, honestly, they're both fun and heartbreaking at the same time. I feel like 14, we had a really talented team, and that was kind of we had two really kind of heartbreaking ways to lose, if I remember right. And then my senior year, just because it's your last one, you want it even more, right? That was my senior year. But both very it was a great experience both times.
Omaha's pretty special. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah, let's talk about that more. Like, what are your favorite memories from Omaha?
I remember probably my favorite game was LSU. Just you have like the people on ESPN, the talking heads always talk about how great the SEC is, and it's great. It really deep, really talented, but just to go toe to toe with them, and Alex Bregman is someone that I played with a couple summers before that. Just playing that game was very, very great, and I remember just feeling pretty good out there.
You went 7 innings in that game, 5 hits, 1 run, 0 walks, and 5 strikeouts. That's a pretty normal PMO outing there. You got Brian Howard.
Is that the game? They've been circulating the Alex Bregman play in the middle.
Yeah.
On Twitter, I've probably seen it the last couple of weeks.
Now we kicked their ass both games that year.
I mean, that was 10-3 Frogs over LSU, so that wasn't even close.
No.
They don't mention that when showing the highlight.
No, I quote tweeted that and said this was their lone highlight from those 2 games against TCU.
Let's talk about the finals right now, right? You've got A&M, which I believe is coached by a person you're familiar with, and you've got the Volunteers, also another guy, Vitello. I don't know how much time you hung out with him at TCU, but any thoughts on kind of what's going on in the finals, and if you have a heartstring either way,
Well, the biggest thing is I'm just glad it's going to Game 3.
Yeah, me too.
Because you had the I wasn't watching the game, to be honest, today as I was going through some errands, but it seemed like A&M was trying to play with a little bit of house money. They had one in the bag, so they were using a bullpen day. And so not only for the entertainment factor of Game 3, but also the fact of having the just probably a better matchup for A&M, just being able to put out, I think his name is Land something. but a starting pitcher that they would want. So I'm excited to watch that one tomorrow. Heartstrings, honestly, do not care. I think they're both in great programs. They both have done amazing things where they're at. And certainly, I think whoever ends up winning is more than deserving.
Can we talk about I know you didn't watch the game today. Have you seen Chris Cortez pitch at all this season?
I saw his 8 pitches the other night when he went 8 straight balls and then got yanked. But it seems like he's a guy that has got a lot of raw talent. I mean, he's throwing 100, right? And he got some
100, and it's got a lot of wiggle.
Yeah, it's got some action on it. And so that's just a situation where there's guys, when you're around a pitching staff long enough, you can kind of point out the guys and be like, okay, if he doesn't have it within the first couple batters, then we need to get someone else going. And there's other guys on the other end of the spectrum that can probably work out of trouble a little bit better. But I think that just wasn't his day, right?
And then were you teammates with Josh Elander?
Mm-hmm. He was my catcher freshman year. So got a couple ties to Tennessee.
I want to stay on the coaching theme here. We've got a very popular coach in the fort, Bill Mosiello, returning after a couple years as a head coach at Ohio State. What's that guy mean to the program? I mean, obviously, been here forever with Kirk, kind of in the same trajectory, and then Schloss leaves, and really it could have been either one of them that took over that head role. But your relationship with Coach Mo and what he could mean coming back.
Well, funny thing, Coach Mo actually knows what I hit in high school. Like, he is just like an encyclopedia of baseball, and like any sport that he gets his hands on, he's just a sponge. I love him coming back. He has an infectious energy. He works his tail off every day. And I think he's one of the guys that the hitters, like, after a couple of days, if Coach Mo is working harder than you, then that's when you need to look in the mirror and start, spending more time on the stage and spending more time doing the different things that hitters do to become better hitters, video and mechanical stuff, all that. But he texted me the other day, so I'm gonna try to connect with him here soon and just catch up.
What's it like to get yelled at by Coach Mo?
Never been yelled at by Coach Mo. So
or watching him yell at someone
third or something.
It's like I'm going through it in my head now, and I think it's more disappointment, right? Like he's like someone that, like I said, he works really hard and he puts in the preparation, and so when you do something that he's not going to get mad at you for striking out or grounding out. He's going to get upset with you for doing something that's in your control that you kind of decided or forgot to take into account.
Mental errors versus physical errors.
Yeah, 100%. And so that's one where if he's yelling at you, then you've certainly messed up, and you definitely feel disappointed to let him and your teammates down.
When you look back at your career at TCU, obviously wins, going to the College World Series has a massive impact on looking back positively on that. But I think most importantly is the people you spend time around. So who are the players that, really made that a great experience for you for 4 years? The guys that you look at, you're still friends with today, maybe your favorite, guy that you're hanging out with on a Friday because you're not pitching yet, that sort of thing.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. I'll take it year by year. Like freshman year, I remember looking up to like Josh Elander and Jason Coates. Those were guys that taught you how to play the game and taught you how to approach the business side of baseball. Like we got to lock in. We got to make sure that we do these things right, and this is how we're going to succeed. Sophomore year was kind of that in-between year in terms of the program, just like success-wise, I guess. I loved hanging out with Jansen Whitty, probably one of the most genuine people that you'll ever meet. Super talented and just always fun to be around. He was great. Junior year was a lot of fun hanging out with Brandon, Tyler, Teakle, Riley. I'm thinking like Teakle was in my wedding. He's great. He's awesome. And then senior year, like I'm thinking about guys like Brian Howard, Drigloff. It was just, there's just a lot of guys that you kind of connect with over different times, and it's hard to keep up with everybody, but it's so interesting. Like you'll have just like random moments throughout your life and you'll be like, I'm thinking about Tyler Alexander tonight. Like just for no real reason, but just something comes up and just reminds you.
Can we talk about Brandon Finnegan real quick? Here you are ending your junior year with Brandon at the College World Series. Yeah. You're going into your senior year.
Yeah.
And here he is pitching in the World Series. I don't think people really appreciate just how crazy that really was.
Yeah, we had a house on University, no longer there, by the way. It was definitely not up to code.
Shout out.
We had a house, Dane, Guillory, Teakle, and me.
Well kept, cleaned, normal stuff, right?
I mean, it was pretty well kept, at least, some parts of the house. But we had a watch party, I remember, and we had a bunch of people over, and like seeing him do that was so special. It was kind of crazy. Like you definitely don't really appreciate it. Unless I'm wrong, is he the only person to do that still?
Yeah, because they were talking about when the Rangers were making their run this last year.
Was it Wyatt? Or was
Wyatt was on the travel roster, and when Adolis got hurt,
he would have been the second.
Well, hey, should we bring Wyatt? He's just been crushing. Minor league pitching. But then then they start talking about the only other player to ever do it has been Brandon.
Yeah,
I mean, when he was good, I did not even have to like think about what the next pitch was, just from like seeing it sophomore year and then also Team USA summer and then that junior year when everything kind of like really clicked and came together. I was like, I see this swing from a lefty or a righty. I know the exact pitch he's throwing. And then he would throw it, strike two. I'm like, okay, does he want to play with him or not? And then if he doesn't, it's just a slider right underneath the bat and just swing over the top and strike three.
What confidence to have. Yeah, just to go out there and like, do I want to toy with you this at bat or not?
Well, okay, toy is probably the right word, but he also just wanted to try to flash a high 90s fastball at times. I felt like his stuff was better in the mid 90s because it was running and had some arm side juice on it, but he wanted to try to get up closer to the high 90s.
I know in high school he was a really good hitter. Who would have been the better college hitter between you two?
He probably would have, just because he actually. So I don't know the rules now, but whenever we used to throw a shutout, we would get Thursday pitchers BP. It was like 3 or 4 rounds of 4, and like
it's a little bonus.
It's pretty pathetic, right?
All right, we'll let y'all hit.
It takes 15 frogs to get a pitcher's.
Yeah, really.
It was pathetic. It was not a good show. Don't show up early for that. But he could put some juice on the ball. I remember that. He had a good swing.
First, you're telling us about you get gold stars for doing good in an inning, and now it's like you get taken out for ice cream. Like to do BP.
Here you go, pitchers. Here's a bat.
Well, there were some where people were like, "No, we don't want to hit," just because like we're tired, or like I remember we were playing at Air Force one weekend, and it was May, but it was still 20 degrees and like snowing, sleeting.
That was Matt Kurt's favorite place to pitch.
In practice, ending practice, we're getting back to the hotel.
It's so funny how much people care about like stickers. It's like, hey, your wife's third grade class cares about stickers, and so do college athletes.
100%.
Hey, Preston, what are some takeaways from your minor league career? I know you got to pitch in Myrtle Beach. That must have been cool, right?
Yeah, it was an experience. I think like there's a lot of things. I think I have the more regrets about that time of baseball than the previous.
Well, then let's move on.
18 years. Sorry, I didn't catch that. But
I said sorry. Let's move on.
No.
It was a good time, right? Like
I hear about that.
I learned a lot about myself, and I learned a lot about other people and relationships and how the business of baseball actually works, right? Like I had a pitching coordinator the year that I was drafted. I had another one the 2 years after that, and then I had two like coordinators, like two bosses basically the year after that. So I had, 4 coordinators in 4 years, and everyone else has like their kind of like spin on how they would want me to pitch, and like, hey, you look like this guy. And then the next coordinator tells you, well, actually you look like this guy. And so it's just, taking ownership over your professional career is something that if anyone happens to listen to this, that is, lucky enough to play at the next level, like certainly take ownership of that. Okay. The system of like college, and especially at TCU, like those guys are really good at developing and they know what they're doing, and they're there for your genuine interest. On the pro side, there's a little bit of skew.
I feel I don't want to interrupt you, Jacob. I feel like we've heard this before, where you have different guys telling you. Maybe it was Evan Scout.
Yeah,
it was like, hey, you've got different guys telling you different things, but you actually know differently. And you're like, that's not who I am.
Yeah, and
I don't want to interrupt you all, but that was advice he got from Lucan. He was like, because everyone was trying to change his swing, Evan's swing, and Lucan was like, dude, you've had this. What works for you. Go out there and
getting back into it. Essentially, it was just getting back into his own element. Right?
And I can't tell you, Preston, and the other guys, how thankful I am for this advice as I go down this road. Try to make my name.
Well, as long as your agent, I get my cut, then I'm happy to keep providing this advice.
That 10% here, 10% there.
That's what Wyatt said too this week as well. After he had that grand slam the other night against MK's team, he said, like, well, what's clicking for you, Wyatt? Like, what's the difference? He's like, well, I just got back to how I was playing when I was at Florida, and just getting back to myself, getting back in my swing, and now that's clicking for him. So there's something said for that.
That story reminds me. I read an article this week in the Wall Street Journal about Skeens, right? And like you have the Pirates organization, you have got your star guy, millions of dollars invested in him. You've got great facilities, great player development, and they're calling the college coach and like going down to see him and saying, hey, like when Paul kind of gets off a little bit, what did you do to get him back, right? And so that's like crazy to think about. I think that's the right thing to do, right?
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
That's really interesting, and I had never heard of that before. But also, I think the biggest thing is like minor leagues just gave you a lot of like good stories to tell, a lot of funny stories, and just crazy, wild things that. No.
Got any fun ones to share?
Yeah, let's go a little deeper here.
Let's see.
Any pranks pulled on each other or
pranks? No. I mean, I just remember like my first full year. Like I just started out pretty slow. It was South Bend, Indiana. It was cold. You got the lake effect every afternoon. I hated it. It was like 1 month in, and going back to what I said about just getting different information, like my pitching coach was like, you got to stand on this side of the rubber. And then the coordinator's like, we have a live feed. You need to stand on the other side of the rubber. And if we see you on that side, we're going to pull you off the mound. We're going to call your manager and pull him off, which is like, that just like blew my mind. Also that year lived in a pretty bad part of town. We were served a warrant in our apartment for the previous tenant. That was fun.
Nice.
So you ran from the cops? That's crazy.
Yeah, well,
That's what we're getting from this.
yeah, exactly. And then I remember me and my roommate, we tried to order a pizza and they said they wouldn't deliver because their last driver got stabbed, which is not what you want to hear.
I just thought you were going to say robbed, not stabbed.
Yeah, let's just really go full throttle here.
What are you going to do? Stab me?
The name of this podcast is going to be Preston Morrison versus the law.
Well, we had all this like hullabaloo and like process to try to find a place at the very last minute, because I don't know if you guys know or not, but you don't figure out where you're going until like 3 days before, and so you're like trying to scramble and try to find a place that does like a 6-month lease for basically beans, right? Because you make no money, and like we were just lucky to have an apartment. And this was like night 3. We're like, okay, great. We picked a great spot. And we both had like our girlfriends, and actually both, ended up marrying these our girlfriends. Like we were like, should we let them come here like this summer? Like, they want to visit. Like, it's a good idea.
Maybe we could have waited to the next step.
It's like, are we getting called up soon? Probably not. But
yeah. Was there like 5 of y'all crammed into a 1-bedroom apartment?
Yeah.
That time it was just it was me and another guy named John Williamson, pitcher from Rice. But it was just us two. We each had our own, luxurious, 8x8 room or something like that. Our couch was like a blow up mattress, and we were just living the dream.
Man, how do you guys plan that when you all just figure out, oh shoot, this is where we're going to end up. This is where we're going to go. Do you all jump in the group chat and say, well, who wants to? I found this place on Zillow. Anybody down?
Hold a draft.
It's crazy. It is so crazy. So like during minor league spring training, you're in your pods, but they're a little bit bigger than the teams. So a roster in AA is, I think, 24 to 28, depending on how many guys you have on your injured list. But they kind of bump guys down as guys come in from big league camp. They get put to AA and AAA teams, and then those guys kick other guys down. And so there's a couple weeks to go, and you're like, all right, John, I think we're going to be, going to South Bend. How about we try to find a place? And I think now, actually, the organizations have to help out with that in some way. I don't know if it's with money or like they actually have to like prepare it, but it's I think it's a lot better than it was when I was doing it.
Hey, Preston, do you still follow the team pretty close?
Kind of legal action.
Oh yeah, I got a settlement check.
Yeah, there absolutely was.
Yeah, it was amazing. It was not a lot of money, but it was
like $30.
No, it was I don't know if I'm supposed to talk about, like, I'm not a legal person, but
you don't have to. If you signed an NDA or whatever,
it was at least 48 cents.
The thing that blew my mind is I got it through Venmo. They were like, they're like, hey, yo, what's your Venmo? We got this class action in. Like,
that's weird.
We're gonna cover this pizza you couldn't get because of the stabbing incident.
That's crazy.
Hey, Preston, how close do you follow the current team? Like, did you watch a lot of this season or recent seasons?
This year and last year, not as much as what was the year before that, 2022. I was a season ticket holder in 22. Chris and I made it out to quite a few games, and we were able to. I think we went at least once every weekend for home series, and then kept up with it. But with Miles, I'm just always, running around with him, and it's I'm still following it and watching games when I can, but at the same time, it's just not at the same clip that I was a couple years ago.
Well, we have a question in the chat from Bella. We actually have a few from her, so I'll run through them pretty quick. But she wants to know, what's the biggest thing Frog fans have to look forward to next season, from your expert opinion?
My expert opinion says that the experts in the dugout are probably the biggest reason. Players are going to change. You're going to have new guys coming in. People are going to leave. That's just the nature of college baseball these days, right? But I think that the guys in the coaching room are, second to none in the country. And so they'll probably, take a look at this season and, learn the positives and negatives and take what they can away from it and make the adjustments where they need to.
Okay. And then on a similar note, what's the best heckle you've heard in your career?
For me or
yeah, directed right at you, or you know what, whatever makes this show the best show possible is the answer we're looking for.
Okay, I'm going to answer two questions. One that was not asked and another one that was not asked.
All right, perfect. Do our job for us.
The best heckle was when Tico took the mound. I forget where it was, but it was a Tuesday game, not a lot of people there. It's just like dead quiet, and someone goes, "Look out! There's a pole on the mound." That just did it for us, and we all just started cracking up.
I did not realize you were Polish. You're Polish?
But he took it, and I don't even know if he heard it or not. But that was a good one.
Gotcha.
But I used to love hearing, after a weak ground out, just like the bat hitting the bat rack and then the helmet.
Right.
Someone saying he's not that effing good or he sucks. Like
that was Ray.
That really was like, that's way better to me than throwing a strikeout.
This dude's throwing 88 up there. He's not that good.
88's generous. 88.
Yeah, if you're throwing 88, it's getting flat
inflation.
on you, right?
That's inflation adjusted, right?
Yeah. Hot gun. All right, here's another one.
After this one.
All right, what Frog alum or former teammate or whoever would make the best Savannah banana?
I think there's a couple candidates. I think Cody Jones would be a good one just because he could play with his shirt off, and that would be a pretty good draw. He's absolutely just jacked.
All right, so when we do the Cody Jones interview, we all got to go shirtless. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
That's what we're hearing.
Exactly. I actually know the guy that does the hockey bit where he has the hockey stick on the mound and then he throws a pitch. You guys ever seen that one?
I don't think I've seen it.
I've seen a lot of Savannah.
They've got a lot of bits though.
Yeah, they got a lot of bits. So there's good inventory there. But Ryan Kellogg's the guy. But I was gonna say maybe Fanion could do that with the hockey stick at the plate. Like have someone just roll a ball up there, see if he can one over the shortstop's head or something.
Could somebody play on the mound?
Somebody up on the mound just whip out a TikTok dance and throw the ball.
Honestly, from what I remember, we were all terrible dancers. Like I don't think any of us are signed TikTok deals. I don't remember, and I would probably be the last person to sign up to be a Savannah banana, just because it's not in my wheelhouse.
So none of you guys would have been good showgirls. Is that what you're saying?
I don't think anyone would show up to the games for.
Now, whenever y'all were playing, did y'all always move from one end to the dugout to the other when the showgirls were on the field dancing?
All the single guys, yeah. But everyone that had a girlfriend at the game was probably either back in the locker room or their cards and
you always see. So at the very far end of the dugout where they dance, all the guys usually clear right away from there.
Yeah.
Whenever they're on the field.
All right. How about this one, Preston? So are you aware of the memes surrounding TC Sports now? And do you feel left out since they weren't around in your day?
Oh, you're talking about the ones that get posted to other teams
on Twitter? Yeah.
Not necessarily other teams, but sometimes we'll highlight a current player, after a game or
I'm somewhat aware, so I guess you could judge how well I know that, but do I feel left out? Probably if they were around in my day, I'd probably have a lot higher screen time than I did. So I'm actually probably glad that they weren't around, or else I would have probably not slept.
What would the Preston Morrison meme be?
Maybe something like Preston Morrison just blew you away with 80 miles an hour.
Yeah, knuckleball.
They have to cook some of those up.
Yeah, we can do some retro memes. That'd be really
absolutely
funny.
Should.
Yeah, that's a good
idea. I like that.
Yeah, it's good. It's a good practice. Everyone watches their old tape, and then you just try to reiterate better.
Yeah,
we just struck out on a 77-mile-an-hour fastball.
We
just got blown away by 74.
Hey, you since you brought it up, I used to look because I used to try to make my slider either faster or slower, and I got it down to 68 one time, and so that was a huge achievement for me. So I rate most guys radar check and look back at the scoreboard for a fastball. I was looking to see how slow I got that one, and that was a good one.
Did they have spin
rate? Jackson's in the lab working up a meme for you right now as we speak. So.
Okay, send it to me. Yeah.
Did
they definitely had spin rate. We had TrackMan, and we could it wasn't fully built out where we were being able to integrate it in terms of other players, but you could use it to say how fast was my pitch and where was it and what were the RPMs. But I don't think we had the full set of spin efficiency and the actual breakage in terms of vertical and horizontal movement, stuff like that.
What was your RPMs?
My RPMs were very low. For my fastball slider, I think I was higher than average. But it was very low because I was effectively throwing sidearm, but still getting over top of it. So it was almost like I was pushing the ball rather than whipping it like most pitchers do.
So what was it like for you? So you said earlier that Los told you to just treat every game like it's a new game. Forget going from where you're not living and dying on every pitch, every strike, to being a fan and kind of living and dying on every pitch.
It's way more stressful being you're not in control, right? I was the same way when I was, on the team. I was a lot more confident and I felt less anxiety being on the mound, first and second, no out, than seeing someone else with the ball in his pressure situation. That was just I like to be in control of those types of outcomes. And so at this point, being a fan, I'm this, I'm very nitpicky. So I'm probably the worst person to ask in terms of how did this pitcher or that pitcher look on this day? I'd be a bad critic.
No, it's being a fan, it's how did that pitcher look? Did he throw the ball good? Oh, he was awesome. Was he not on his game? Oh, this pitcher sucks.
Yeah, I'm much more pitching kind of focused because that's what I know and that's what I've had done forever. So I certainly am a lot more hard on pitchers in terms of why'd you throw that pitch right there? It should have been 6 inches inside and just very unrealistic expectations.
Are these the questions you're bouncing off your wife as y'all are watching a game?
Yeah, but I don't know if anything's bouncing back.
She's not in game.
She was not a baseball person before we started dating. We started dating my junior year. And so I've taught her everything she knows about baseball. Yeah. She knows there's 9 innings and 2 teams, and
she's got the basics down.
You ever see how slow somebody can throw a fastball? Watch this.
Exactly. No, she's great. I feel I do feel I've tried to stop peppering her with questions because at some point she's just going to be all right, I can't take it anymore.
Right.
We got to leave me room to think.
Hey, man, Preston, really.
Hold on, Kyle.
appreciate it.
Last one for
Ray.
me.
Let's go.
So in 6 years, you're eligible for the College Baseball Hall of Fame. When should we kick off your campaign to get you in?
Shoot, how much campaigning do we have to do?
I've never thought of that, or I didn't know what the requirements were or anything like that. So
Yeah, you're a liar. You absolutely have.
I promise you. I promise you I haven't thought about it.
Well,
that
we as a show will make sure you're first ballot. We will make that happen for you. That's
that would be insane. I don't even know. I don't even know who's in it besides like Ventura and
Incaviglia. I don't know. Martin was here.
I don't know how inclusive or exclusive it is. Like who's been. Do you know who's been recently inducted?
No, we just have a lot of T-shirts that are being printed right now.
Yeah.
So the campaign's going to start.
Make sure they're tank tops, like double
Yeah.
XL.
You got to do tanks. That's right.
Of course.
Well,
Just for the summer.
Preston, man, we cannot appreciate more the time you gave us. I know personally, you were definitely one of my favorite pitchers ever to watch. It's just like, oh, it's Preston Morrison tonight. We can beat anybody. So it's really cool to have you on the show, man, and just kind of reminiscing on. I think I speak for a lot of Frog fans that, when times get tough, it's like, man, I wish we had Preston Morrison on the team. So just know, like, you got a really special place in the heart of all the fans out here. So thanks for what you did, and thanks for coming on the show.
I appreciate it. Thanks for the kind words, and thank you guys for having me on and doing what you guys do for the TCU baseball and TCU athletics community. It's kind of fun to see some of those things come across my timeline, and certainly awesome jobs by you guys.
Thanks.
We'll have to have you on, and you can debate Perk. You can go back and forth.
What are we debating? Fastball versus changeup, or
more like bullpen changes and kind of things like that.
Oh, like on the fly stuff.
Yeah.
Game recaps. We'll get your takes.
Oh,
we'll have you on.
I'm terrible at that. Like when I got moved to the bullpen, we would like always be like, all right, why is Efros going in? It should be Ramirez. Like,
well, they say
like I'm not going in. I just don't care.
They say those who can't coach do, right?
All right, thanks for joining us on Post Game Beers tonight, guys. Like we said, we got an awesome series coming up. Ex-players. Appreciate Preston you joining us for the first one tonight. It's been awesome and a good way to start our summer. So, with all that said, as always, go Frogs.
Go Frogs. Thanks, Preston.
Go Frogs. Thank you, Preston.